crowd inside Joe's donut shop were certainly a noisy bunch, and who could blame them? Tonight was their night, their chance to let the prospects of inevitable responsibilities take a back seat. Drinks were passed around, toasts were being made, and it became impossible for the waiters to deny themselves a shared mug. Even Joe himself came out to be part of the fun. And who was at this happy little gathering of friends, you may ask? Philly celebrating a friend's birthday? Pinkie Pie throwing one of her over-the-top parties? Nope. This was just a party for the stallions. Oh yes, all the stallions of Ponyville were invited. Even those in Canterlot were curious to find out what they were getting themselves into. While some left, others stayed behind. The Royal Guard were more than willing to be a part of such a gathering. The red farm pony, Big Macintosh, had managed to bring some barrels full of his family's freshly made apple cider. Even Discord showed up, and started to have fun in his own way. While the party guests weren't paying attention, he tapped their mugs to magically refill them. Their snouts reddened, and their tails became more daring. Some of the day guards were laughing as one of them began to mimic Celestia, while the night guard joined in as Luna. "You guys might want to be careful," warned a white unicorn approaching the laughing group. Prince! Shining armor, sir," spluttered one of the guards, accidentally spilling some of his cider. "Nice of you to join us, sir," boomed another, raising his mug to the prince. "Have a seat. Our friend here was just telling us about you." "No, I wasn't," said the armored Pegasus as his face reddened. "I hear you were quite the life of the party, sir," said the Pegasus friend, chuckling. "You had quite the tale or two about Celestia." With the Pegasus growing even more embarrassed, and Shining Armor wanting to get away from his former guard before any of those so-called stories slipped, he grinned and looked past them. "Ah, Princess, how nice of you to join us." Completely terrified by this possibility, the group spun around to look behind them, only to see a brown earth pony with an hourglass as a cutie mark sniff his beverage before shrugging and taking a minute sip. Smiling to himself, Shining Armor levitated his mug and left, leaving the guards in their shocked and thankful state. He managed to find a seat between the red and yellow earth pony, only to be stared at a second later by the other party guests. "Oh, I wouldn't worry about them," said the airborne trickster hovering above the prince. "They're more afraid of you than you are of them." "Discord," began Shining Armor, looking up. "What are you doing here?" "I thought that was obvious," Discord chuckled. "With all the excitement going on, and not a single mare in sight, I figured it must be a stallion's night out." "That didn't answer my question," said Shining Armor, eyeing Discord with suspicion. "Oh, come now, Shining," Discord said with a nasty grin. "What do you take me for? I wouldn't stop by a party and not attend." Shining Armor raised an eyebrow. "Oh, fine," Discord sighed. "I will not sabotage this event or play any tricks on any pony while I am here." "Glad to hear it," said Shining Armor, relaxing a little. "You can start by undoing what you did to the cider." "Why, Prince Shining, I am offended!" exclaimed Discord dramatically as he removed his overextended tail from the open cider barrel. "I gave you my word that I wouldn't stoop to my old ways, and here you are, already accusing—" Shining Armor twirled his mug lazily and tapped his chin thoughtfully before taking a large sip. Discord watched in bated breath. Any moment now. "Discord, does this taste differently to you?" "What? How? Give me that!" Discord put the mug to his lips and let the warm liquid hit his tongue. "I don't understand," he said, scratching his head. "Nothing's wrong with—" Being caught for changing the cider, he looked down at the prince, who folded his hooves. "Oh, fine," he said, giving the mug back. "It'll give me a moment to fix everything. Just keep every pony away from the cider until then." Even as he said it, a unicorn walked by, swaying with each step. Shining Armor helped him back to his seat and took the mug, swapping it with his own. The pony slapped Shining on the back and continued to drink out of the safe mug. Shining didn't have time to respond. At that moment, more ponies were gathering around the cider barrels. With his horn glowing, he teleported to the front of the line and held out his hooves. Hey, what gives? Shouted one of the stallions, hiccuping. The cider in these barrels aren't ready to be passed out yet, said Shining, watching the crowd grow bigger with each passing second. Hey, Big Mac, called one of the ponies in the crowd. You brought these here straight from the farm, right? Yep, replied the tall red earth pony back. And they're ready to be served? Big Macintosh nodded. There you have it, said the stallion confidently. You can step aside now, Your Highness. Thinking fast, Shining Armor let his horn glow again. This time, he cast an invisible shield protecting him, Discord, and the cider from the growing crowd. Behind him, Discord opened the second barrel and began to remove his extra ingredients. Shining Armor looked at the impatient herd in front of them. Now calm down, every pony, he said, smiling nervously. The cider will be ready in just a few minutes. He looked at Discord for backup. Twirling his beard, Discord thought, then snapped his fingers and several more copies of himself appeared before them. Shining was about to question the trickster's plan when the four clones pushed tables to the side to make room for whatever they were about to start. It was like they had pulled their instruments and conjured a stage out of thin air. The donut shop was transformed into a dance floor as the replicas began to play their song. The distraction was working. The crowd moved toward the center of the shop and began dancing. Sighing in relief, Shining Armor let his shield drop and faced Discord. Alright, out with it. What did you put in the cider? I don't mind my cider with a little extra kick once in a while, but that was about to go too far. I might have given the cider the thing it needed to do just that, said Discord, levitating giant balls of the apple substance out of the barrels as he plucked what he was searching for inside them. Oh, and I added a little something extra to it as well. Discord, Shining said, glaring up at the Master of Mischief. What? Said Discord, tossing one of the pellets aside. I didn't add much. It was just a remedy for a slight fixation on whatever every pony drank. You have 10 seconds before I... Oh, relax, Shining, said Discord, waving his clawed hand around lazily. Whoever thought you were the authoritative type? Although Shining didn't reply, Discord saw that he had struck a nerve, and he smirked. Why yes, I always thought Celestia held that crown, but it appears I was wrong. I am not, Shining grumbled. Discord's toothy grin widened. He knew what had to be done. I was only trying to bring a little life to this party, but if you insist otherwise, who am I to deny a prince from maintaining order? Shining bowed his head as the trickster's words sank into him. Had the role of an authoritative figure in Equestria really broke his old self down that much? No. He could still be the life of the party if he wanted to, just in a different way. Right? Discord closed the barrels and tapped Shining on the shoulder with his tail. The deed is done, Your Highness. Discord was about to whistle over to the dancing crowd. Shining with his horn glowing stopped him, and with a sigh, looked up at the grinning Chaos Lord. You know, maybe I overreacted. Perhaps for just one night, I could let it slide. I thought you'd never ask, said Discord, rubbing his paw and clawed hands together. What happened next seemed to pass by in a wave of warmth and numbing sensations that could only be brought on by the cider the party attendants continued to wolf down. Shining felt himself being grabbed, and the next thing he knew is that he was with several of his fellow guards. They entertained the crowd by dancing on tables and cracking jokes that involved their princesses. By the time the sun had risen, the inside of the donut shop was a mess. Everyone was out cold. As the birds chirped outside, the many passed-out bodies didn't even stir as the sun's light hit them. Nothing for that matter seemed to wake them. Not even the ringing of the doorbell caught their attention as it opened and hoof steps made their way inside. Every mare in Ponyville, including the 4 Alicorn princesses, stood outside the open shop. They gazed down at the herd inside, surprised that the small diner was able to hold this many guests. Well, said Princess Twilight, lowering her ears in embarrassment. Shall we wake them? That wasn't the plan, said Princess Cadence, stepping forward with her horn glowing. And neither was this, Twilight said, darting in front of her sister-in-law. Twilight, came Celestia's voice that had a pinch of disappointment in it. You know what has to be done. They have no pony to blame but themselves. Twilight looked at her mentor, then the Princess Luna. Her face showed signs of no pity for what was about to take place. After what I had to endure last night while traveling through the dreams of others, there will be no mercy from me. Twilight gulped, and turned to face the passed-out crowd scattered throughout the shop. Now then, said Celestia as she too made her horn glow, and conjured up the punishment they had in store for the poor souls. Shall we begin? Yes, said Luna darkly. I think we'll start with him. Her eyes were fixated on Discord, who at some point during the night had been given a taste of his own medicine. Wait! Yelled Twilight. There has to be another way. I mean, no pony was hurt, right? So shouldn't we... One of the guards began to chuckle in his sleep. How could a princess who has braved many terrifying foes and lands be afraid of something like that? Twilight felt her stomach drop as the guard added the finishing blow. Quesadillas of all things! Twilight's horn began to glow as she looked at her brother's sleeping form. Cadence, you're going to have to wait in line. As the mares entered the shop, they took out their weapons to remove the tops to reveal the markers they concealed. With 100 colors at their disposal, there was no limit to what couldn't be done next. The mares crept toward their targets, grinning all the while. Photo Finish held back outside with her camera at the ready. Her time would come soon enough.